Criticism. If you don't like being criticised, it's probably worth watching this video. Criticism is something we face all the time in both our personal and professional lives. It's how you take on board that criticism and deal with it that makes you ultimately a better person. We've put together 5 points that if you adopt at least some of them, you're probably going to deal with criticism a whole lot better. The first point is perspective. When someone criticises you, they're not criticising you personally, they're criticising something you've done. So they're not saying you're a morally void person or a scruffy bugger. They're basically saying you have done something that I don't particularly like and I'm adding a comment against it. It's important to bear that in mind. The next point is to stay composed and listen. Often when we receive some sort of criticism, we get upset or we get defensive or we completely disassociate the comments with the person and say you are completely wrong. It's important not to take it personally, not get upset and just consume the criticism and then think about how to deal with it. That leads on to the next point of objectively dealing with the criticism and taking it from a valid source. Sometimes people will criticise on absolute nonsense they know nothing about, but sometimes the criticism can come from someone with a valid opinion and they're qualified to make that criticism. Think of it as if you're playing football one day and unfortunately you've made some sort of disagreeable back pass which has led to a goal. If one of your teammates who's not particularly great at football criticises that move, you might not take it fully on board because they're not very good. But if Lionel Messi just happens to be passing your football game and criticises your back pass, it's probably worth taking it on board. So it's important to bear in mind where the criticism is actually coming from. The fourth point is to take appropriate action and listen attentively. Often we can cut people off and not listen to the critiques they're making. But it's important to take on board criticism because it can hold some value. Take it on board, ask for more information and thank someone if it's not too uncomfortable for the criticism they've made because it can help you progress. And it's important that criticism can be consumed and acted upon so that you can make whatever mistake you've made better in the future. And the next step, again, just to add to that, is to reflect and take action. Sometimes people take criticism and walk away and don't consume it and make the same mistake again. But if you can take on board the criticism, understand what the problem was, and then come up with a plan so it doesn't happen again and you can consume it properly, it's a proper course of action. So to reiterate on those 5 points again, shift the perspective, listen attentively and stay composed. Use the criticism objectively. Respond appropriately. Thank people. Ask for more information and reflect on the criticism and take some action. Otherwise, the criticism has no value and you could face it again in the future. If you follow those, you'll probably be okay.